The Prime Minister of Canada, the new one, Carney. He just met with President Trump at the White House, totally caved. If I were Canadian, I'd be embarrassed, but I'm an American and I'm proud of our favorite president, Donald Trump. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast. All right, so all this talk that's been going on between the United States and Canada came to a head today when the new Prime Minister, Carney, came to the White House, and they had, I guess what was about 35 minutes press event. And this Prime Minister, I don't care how long he's been on the scene. I know he's a globalist. I know he's their leader. I have never seen such a wimpy leader as I saw today with Carney. And I know a lot of these leaders, when they come to the White House and meet Trump for the first time, it could probably be overwhelming, because Trump is such a larger-than-life figure, a celebrity beyond any world leader that we've ever had on our planet. And the press are like crazy around him. So a lot of them, I could tell they get a little nervous. But Carney was actually squirming in his seat. And he even went on to compliment the president. This is Carney talking to President Trump.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'm on the edge of my seat, actually, for the big announcement.
Oh, yeah.
But sure thank you for your hospitality and above all, for your leadership. You're a transformational president, focus on the economy with a relentless focus on the American worker, securing your borders, ending the scourge of fentanyl and other opioids, and securing the world. And I've been elected with my colleagues here, with the help of my colleagues here. I'm going to spread the credit to transform Canada with a similar focus on the economy, securing our borders, again on fentanyl, much greater focus on defense and security, securing the Arctic and developing the Arctic. And the history of Canada and the U.S. is we're stronger when we work together, and there's many opportunities to work together. And I look forward to, addressing some of those issues that we have, but also finding those areas of mutual cooperation so we can move forward.
All right. Now that is some really major sucking up, I would have to say. That's a lot of sucking up that's going on right there by Carney. And, this whole exchange that's been going on between the United States and Canada the last few weeks, we've covered it so much, so I'm not going to get into the details about it, other than to say that 90% of the Canadian economy is tied to the United States and dependent upon the United States. They basically have one revenue stream in Canada, and that's business with the United States. And Canada cannot afford to not do business with the United States. They just economically would collapse. And President Trump has said many times, and he's very right about this, there's nothing that Canada has that we need. Most of what we get from Canada these days are from industries that they've taken from us, like the auto industry is the biggest example, but there's many, many others. So Carney is behaving properly by sucking up to Trump, but I've never seen a world leader do this, meeting with a president of the United States. He was moving around in his seat. He was shifting around. He just looked so uncomfortable. And I think he was very nervous. I think he's intimidated by President Trump. I think he's scared. And now that he's the prime minister, if there's financial disasters in Canada because of business dealings going south with Donald Trump and Canada, it's all on him now. It's not Trudeau. The election's over. So he's responsible for all of it. And he is so out of his league with Donald Trump. It isn't everybody, but he in particular, he's been talking tough about Trump in the United States. And, now that he's there with the guy, he couldn't be that butch. Now, this is Ana Navarro on CNN earlier talking about a Canadian couple that she met.
We can't have this, impasse, this fight going on with Canada. It is ridiculous. And let me just tell you a little story. Last week, I ran into a couple I know. She's French Canadian. He's French. They were planning a big wedding in Florida. They're no longer getting married in Florida because their relatives and friends don't want to travel to Florida. So that's money lost for the florist and the caterer and the venue and the parkers and the airlines and the airport workers and the drivers, all in Florida. And it's happening in Maine. It's happening in so many states that are feeling the pain of Canadians not wanting to come to the United States.
Okay. Now, so far as French Canadians don't even like French Canadians. That's a really poor example. But, here's the deal. While we need nothing from Canada, we want nothing from Canada. We want Canada to be stable and secure. I mean, they border us. Out of all of the countries in the world, Canada is closest to us than any other, although they're more foreign than I realize. You guys ever watch MasterChef with Gordon Ramsay? Remember a few years ago, my wife and I watched a couple of seasons of MasterChef Canada, and the foods they were cooking in Canada, some of them were just so foreign to me. I can't believe. I thought they're not as close to us as we'd like to think. But out of all the countries in the world, they're closest to us, not just geographically, because Mexico's that close, but we have a larger border, obviously, because it's a bigger country. But they're close to us. We want them to be successful and everything else. But all that President Trump wants is for all of these countries around the world to stop ripping us off. And that's what they're doing between foreign aid, not paying their NATO dues, ripping us off with out-of-control tariffs. He just wants tariffs that are equal, reciprocal tariffs. Whatever your import tax is what ours is. Stop ripping us off. That's all President Trump wants. And for anyone who thinks that President Trump is being unreasonable, you're out of your mind. How is that unreasonable? But anyway, it looks like President Trump has Canada completely under control. And he was talking about in this meeting, he had the cabinet there, at least the key members of the cabinet. He was talking about signing trade deals. He was taking questions from the press.
Just to finish, we also have a situation because everyone says, when are you going to sign deals? We don't have to sign deals.
That's right.
We could sign 25 deals right now, Howard, if we wanted. We don't have to sign deals. They have to sign deals with us. They want a piece of our market. We don't want a piece of their market. We don't care about their market. They want a piece of our market. So we can just sit down, and I'll do this at some point over the next 2 weeks, and I'll sit with Howard and Scott and with our great vice president who has done a really good job. We have some good news to report on a lot of fronts.
Okay, that sounds like India. Remember, because Vice President J.D. Vance, his wife is Indian American. He just came back from India. Sounds like he made a deal with India, who has like the worst tariffs on us.
J.D. will be there and Marco, and we're going to sit down and we're going to put very fair numbers down. And we're going to say, here's what this country, what we want. And congratulations, we have a deal. And they'll either say, great, and they'll start shopping, or they'll say, not good. We're not going to do it. I said, that's okay. You don't have to shop. Now, we may think, well, they have a right. That maybe we were a little bit wrong, so we'll adjust it. And then you people will say, oh, it's so chaotic. No, we're flexible. But we'll sit down and we'll, at some point, in some cases, we'll sign some deals. It's much less important than what I'm talking about. For the most part, we're just going to put down a number and say, this is what you're going to pay to shop. And it's going to be a very fair number. It'll be a low number. We're not looking to hurt countries. We want to help countries.
Very fair.
We want to be friendly with countries. But you keep writing about deals. When are we going to sign? It's very simple. We're going to say, in some cases, we want you to open up your country. In some cases, we want you to drop your tariffs. I mean, India, as an example, is one of the highest tariffs in the world. We're not going to put up with that. And they've agreed already to drop it. They'll drop it to nothing. They've already agreed. They would have never done that for anybody else but me. So we're going to put down some numbers, and we're going to say our country is open for business. And they're going to come in, and they're going to pay for the privilege of being able to shop in the United States of America.
That's right.
It's very simple. It's very simple. So I wish they'd keep, stop asking, how many deals are you signing this week? Because one day we'll come and we'll give you 100 deals. And they don't have to sign. All they have to do is say, oh, we'll start sending our ships right now to pick up whatever we want or to bring whatever we want. It's very, very simple. And I think my people haven't made it clear. We will sign some deals, but much bigger than that is we're going to put down the price that people are going to have to pay to shop in the United States. Think of us as a super luxury store, a store that has the goods. You're going to come and you're going to pay a price, and we're going to give you a very good price. We're going to make very good deals, and in some cases we'll adjust. But that's where it is.
Yeah, they don't even have to sign the deals, right? They don't even have to sign the deals. Sounds like a pretty amazing deal to me, right? Just say you're going to do it and do it. And, it's what Steve Kane's been predicting this for a couple of weeks, that President Trump's going to come out one day and just have like 30 deals, 40 deals, 20 deals, 50, however many, and they're going to do a big announcement one day, although it sounds like JD's got something cooking there. Now, some big news just dropped from the Supreme Court today, which is pretty amazing. Listen to this. This is from NBC News, so there may be some liberal phrasing in this story, but the story just broke. The Supreme Court on Tuesday allowed President Trump to implement his ban on transgender people serving in the military. The justices granted an emergency request from the Trump administration to lift a nationwide injunction blocking the policy while litigation continues. The Supreme Court's order noted that the 3 liberal justices dissented. Of course they did. The decision is a loss for the 7 individual transgendered service members led by lead plaintiff Emily Schilling, a Navy commander who had sued to block it. In a separate case, a judge in D.C. blocked the policy nationwide, but the U.S. Court of Appeals put their ruling, blah, blah, it goes on. So anyway, the Supreme Court upheld the transgender ban. And, the thing about that is there's all kinds of restrictions on who can serve in the military. As an example, I am forbidden from enlisting in the military. Not one branch will take me because I'm too old. Is that age discrimination? Or is it because at my age, I'm just, I'm 54 years old, that I'm not, I can't believe I'm 54. It's hard for me to even say that. And I remember I had a grandmother having a grandmother who was 51. And, I thought she was an old lady. Now I'm older than my grandmother at that time. But there's all kinds of restrictions on people based on their ability to do the job of the military. Like me at my age, I'd be rotten in the military because, I don't even mow my own lawn. I haven't for years because when you get older, the heat affects you in ways that you just get. It's like you're having a heat stroke. You go outside to check the mail, right? How could I be in the military, right? And when you're someone who's transgender, forgetting about the morale problems, which of course there's a lot of that, but people that are transgender are on a lot of medications. These medications affect all kinds of things in the body. They affect mental health. There's been a lot of major crimes, violent crimes, even mass shootings that have been committed in the last couple of years by transgenders because emotionally, a lot of them are not in control of themselves because of all the hormones they're on. You guys know all this. So you're going to put people in Apache helicopters and tanks and jet fighters, hand them machine guns that are on all of these different hormones? That doesn't sound very smart, does it? And this ban is a good ban, and it's a good thing that they did it. It really, truly is. And, the president's the commander-in-chief, this idea that these judges are going to be running the country. This is something that the Supreme Court needs to clamp down on, because these judges in this country are so out of control. Even the Supreme Court, to a certain extent, is out of control. For them to come in and say and block Trump from doing this, from doing that, but this is a big one, the transgender in the military. And the next really has to be the damage that's being done to women's sports. What's happening to women's sports is just really sad. This lie, really, that women can do anything that men can do, or the girls can do whatever the boys can do. Well, that's really not the case when it comes to athletics. And we're seeing that because these transgender athletes in the women's sports are breaking every record, and they're making these records so high and so far beyond anything that was achieved before by the girls or the women that they'll never be broken. And that tells you right there, when it comes to these things, Sadly, boys are better than girls. And the question you have to ask, with the athletes in the military, it's different. To me, the athletes, most of them are cheaters. Like this runner that just won in Maine over the weekend. That guy doesn't look like he's transitioning to me. It looks like a cheater to me. In the military, I've seen a lot of these people in the military at different events and things over the last 4 years. And what they've done to the readiness of the United States military and our image around the world by allowing this is a lot of it's very dangerous. You know, you want countries around the world and bad guys around the world to be fearful of the United States military, and you see what they've been putting in the military, and they laugh at the military. And you know, it's amazing to me. Liberals are always concerned about what other country. Oh, Europe's laughing at our president. Europe's laughing at our country. When terrorist organizations around the world have lost their fear of the United States because of the transgenders in the military, that's a problem too. That's a big problem. Okay. And I'm so glad that the Supreme Court stood up and did the right thing. It's about time, isn't it? Absolutely. Now, if you're new to the program, my name's Brian. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast. And the Brian Craig Show podcast airs on all podcast platforms. Okay. If there's a podcast platform, this program's on it. Also, I do upload the show on YouTube. The podcast is on YouTube. On YouTube Music is a podcast platform. But I upload the podcast, the Brian Craig Show podcast, on my YouTube channel, Brian Craig Show. And when I upload my podcast to YouTube, I do a live premiere, usually at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And there's a live chat there. So just like I have in the morning, so you can participate in that. But whatever platform you get your podcast from, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever they are, just search for the Brian Craig Show podcast. And I have almost 1,500 episodes, so you can do a lot of binge watching or binge listening. And I think you'll enjoy the show, okay? Because it's a good podcast. This podcast has been out there for a long, long time. And those of you that have been supporters of mine, thank you so much. Now, a lot has been made of these students that are being deported. I've even seen some MAGA people say, oh, you can't go against these students. It's free speech. This clip I'm going to play, this is a student from Temple University who's with the organization, he's the president of Students for Justice in Palestine at Temple University. And he put this video out.
So we see this existential connection between the Palestinian students movement and the political prisoners. So the Palestinian student, the day after of Oslo, they changed their activism from the campus to the armed struggle. If Palestine is liberated, this means this is a nail to dismantle the United States of America. We know.
You hear that? He's talking about dismantling the United States of America. So here, I know it's hard to understand because his accent's so heavy. So you have a guy that's talking that way. He's here on a student visa, and he's organizing for a terrorist organization at one of our universities. You really think his visa should not be revoked and he shouldn't be sent back to where he's from? He's talking about dismantling the United States. You know, there's been a lot of coverage by good people in the MAGA movement, in the conservative movement, that have showed how much money China's been pouring into our universities to turn our students against the United States. You cannot have these foreign nationals advocating for terrorist organizations and vowing to dismantle the United States and have them here on these student visas. I'm sorry. You know, when you're on a visa, you're here as a guest. You're a guest in this country. You should be honored to be here. And you can't go around organizing anti-Semitic hate groups, advocating for terrorist organizations, and advocating to dismantle the United States. It's bad enough when it's an American that does it, but when it's a foreigner, you're out. And for people to sit around and defend these anarchist, enemy, terrorist students like this guy, it boggles my mind. Now, I came across something that is very revealing and shocking about Leticia James. You will not want to miss this. And after the break, I'm going to get into it. The Brian Craig Show is brought to you by Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. If you're in the state of Florida and you need roof replacement or repair, Tom Laporta is your guy. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need. Online at laportaroofing.com or call him directly or even text on his cell phone, 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602 for Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing. My name's Brian. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this. Do you or anyone you know and love have cancer? Have you been struggling, searching for real answers about the safety and effectiveness of the ketogenic diet? Do you know what to eat? Do you have questions on what supplements to take and whether keto is okay when on chemotherapy or radiation treatment? From author Dr. Jocelyn L. Tan comes a powerful new research backed by science and written in plain language. Keto Oncology, a comprehensive guide available on Amazon. Author Dr. Tan is a medical oncologist and associate professor at the University of Pittsburgh, the founding director of the Pittsburgh VA's Integrative Oncology Department, and board certified in lifestyle medicine as well as medical acupuncture. And she shares her expertise in this nearly 500-page guide that explores how ketogenic metabolic therapy may help fight cancer, not just support weight loss. With Keto Oncology, you'll learn what to eat, what supplements to consider, and how keto reacts with chemotherapy and radiation. Everything is grounded in research, not blogs or opinions. Endorsed by leading cancer metabolism expert, Dr. Thomas Seyfried, Keto Oncology is not a cookbook. It's a breakthrough science-based guide for patients and caregivers who want clarity, hope, and options. Order your copy right now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, or visit KetoONC.com. Knowledge is power. Give yourself or someone you love the gift of both. Keto Oncology, a comprehensive guide from author Dr. Jocelyn L. Tan. Are you looking for jewelry that's as unique as you and your story are? You'll find just that at Pristine Pieces by Amy on Etsy, where craftsmanship meets creativity. From bold tungsten and titanium to the timeless elegance of 14-karat gold and platinum, every piece at Pristine Pieces by Amy on Etsy is a handcrafted masterpiece. Whether you're shopping for custom engraved bands, lab-grown or natural diamonds, or gemstone rings made with precision, Pristine Pieces by Amy combine cutting-edge 3D design and printing with old-school handcrafting skills to deliver one-of-a-kind jewelry that fits your life, your love, and your legacy. Their passion for detail and dedication to quality have made them a trusted name on Etsy, and they're proud to serve every customer with heart and expertise. Celebrate your moment with something unforgettable. Visit pristinepiecesbyamy.etsy.com. That's pristinepiecesbyamy.etsy.com, because your jewelry should be as exceptional as you are. pristinepiecesbyamy.etsy.com. Tired of dry, dusty history? Pink History with host Andrea is the podcast that brings the past to life. Pink History is a lighthearted journey through the lives of trailblazing women who changed our world. From fearless warriors like Joan of Arc, artistic icons such as Frida Kahlo, to heroines like Anne Frank. Each episode of Pink History brings you quirky stories, surprising facts, and inspiring legacies, all with a fresh, spirited twist that makes history anything but boring. Whether you're a history buff, a curious learner, or just love a good story, Pink History is here to educate, entertain, and empower. So what are you waiting for? Add Pink History to your podcast playlist right now on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and TikTok. Tune in each week to meet the women who made history loud, bold, and unforgettable. History's never been this fun. Pink History. Tune in right now. Are you ready to transform pain into purpose? From author Sammy Dunaway comes your guide to healing what hurts most in the book, Bridge to Redemption, The Power of Forgiveness, available on Amazon. This must-read book combines real-life stories with practical tools like journaling, mindfulness, and empathy building to help you release anger, regret, and bitterness. When you read Bridge to Redemption through the lens of divine grace, you'll learn to forgive others and yourself, mend broken relationships, and
find the peace you've been longing for. Whether you're carrying deep wounds or seeking a fresh start, this book is your roadmap to a lighter, freer life. It also makes a great addition to your book club. Discover how forgiveness isn't just a gift for others. It's a lifeline for you, a bridge from pain to peace, from regret to redemption. Bridge to Redemption, The Power of Forgiveness is available now on Amazon. Your journey to healing starts right now.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
We're back, everyone. I'm Brian. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I read this op-ed in the Gateway Pundit today about Leticia James, and the headline is The Leticia Files, How Racial Politics Fueled Leticia James' Political Ambitions. And this is interesting because it goes into her background from high school and college. And Leticia has been a bit of a mystery, hasn't she? Because she doesn't have like a connected family. She doesn't come from wealth. She doesn't have a connected husband. And, you know, this article in the Gateway Pundit reveals some very interesting things about Leticia James. And, of course, Leticia James is someone we all believe should be arrested yesterday. I mean, this lawfare is so criminal, and now this mortgage fraud. But let me read this. This is in the Gateway Pundit. It's fascinating. Would-be and it's by the writer is a guest commentator for the Gateway Pundit. Joel Gilbert is the name. And I did post this on my X, Brian Craig Show on X, Joel Gilbert in the Gateway Pundit. Would-be politicians have politics in their DNA. The signs are there from the beginning and are visible when they are in high school and college. Barack Obama was famously elected as the editor of the Harvard Law Review. Michelle Obama was featured heavily in her high school and college yearbooks as a member of the student council, class treasurer, dance class, singing class, French club, and more. And, you know, that's true with all of these presidents, right? George H.W. Bush was the captain of the Yale baseball team. Bill Clinton was very active in politics at Oxford and at the schools he went to here. They all are. But not Leticia James. Listen to this. Leticia James, however, was something of a ghost during her academic career, beginning with her high school years at Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn in 1972. Leticia James does not appear in any high school yearbooks whatsoever. So they don't even have her photo with her class. She's not listed as being in any high school organizations, a musical group, debate group, dance club, sports team, nor is she even featured in any high school class photos. You know, you open it up, everybody's alphabetical by the year. She's not even there. She's a ghost in high school. The same goes for her 6 years in college, attending CUNY's Lehman College in the Bronx. The writer visited the campus last week and examined the yearbooks from 76 to 82, the 6 years she attended. Once again, James does not appear at all in any yearbook. No activities, no organizations, and no class photos. This is a college that has a yearbook, okay? Mine didn't. Or at least no one told me about it. No, we didn't have one where I went to college. An examination of Leticia James's Howard University Law School yearbooks, however, does show a similar pattern with just one single class photo from her graduation year in 1986. That's it. That's all she has to show for the entirety of her academic career. Isn't that strange? Not even with her class. So back to this. Where and when did Leticia James get the idea to be a politician? Yeah, she was not a go-getter, right? She was going below the radar. These are the people that make it into politics are all overachievers, right? Not her. Okay, back to the article. So where and when did Leticia James get the idea to be a politician, and a radicalized one, no less? All signs point to her 10-year mentorship working for radical New York City State Assemblyman Al Vann in the 1990s. James said in the past, Leticia James, I was a student of Al Vann. He was all about institutional building, and he coined the phrase community empowerment. She said, I basically stalked him because I wanted to work with him. Ultimately, he relented, and I was his counsel for 10 years. Van deeply influenced Leticia James' interest in racial politics. A classic race man, Al Van, but this is in the Gateway Pundit again, I'm reading from. A classic race man, Al Van was a co-founder of the African American Teachers Association and a major figure in New York City's Black political empowerment movement. He was one to play the race card even when that play had no validity. In a 2006 incident, one which influenced Leticia James, 5 NYPD officers opened fire on a fleeing auto after the intoxicated driver, a Queens bridegroom in press reports, tried to run over a police officer. He was killed and 2 passengers were injured. Van, this is Leticia's mentor, was outspoken in the protest that followed. On one occasion, Van interrupted a city council meeting to say how tired he was of attending the funerals of young black men killed by cops, although this guy was trying to kill cops himself. We have to admit what the problem is. The problem is institutionalized racism, said Van, ignoring the fact that 3 of the 5 shooters were black, including including Nora, who initiated the shooting. Working with Van encouraged Leticia to begin her own political career. After he was termed out of the state assembly, he ran for city council in 2001. Leticia followed him to the city council with his endorsement for her seat. Leticia James' status as city councilwoman did not discourage her from continuing the petty corruption she had embarked on while under Van's mentorship. That's, I guess, all the mortgage fraud that she got involved in. So it's very unusual and really strange to me that someone like her, who's so into politics, has just no footprint at all until she got hooked up with this guy, who was a very radical New York radical leftist. And that's where her mind is. So she was mentored by an insane man. And the racial politics, that's what her brain is all about now. And there's no getting through her. She's completely insane. You know, Pam Bondi had a press conference today, major fentanyl arrest, which saved a lot of lives. And that's a great thing. But I was so hoping we'd hear about like a Leticia James indictment, weren't you? I don't think I was the only one. Leticia James is really bad. And, you know, these people in the lawfare wing of the Democrat Party, of which I think she's the easiest one to get because of all the mortgage fraud. She signed all these fraudulent documents. It shouldn't be too hard to get her indicted in front of a grand jury and get a trial going. I mean, she is a hardcore criminal with that mortgage fraud, with everything that's been reported about it, if it's true. And I'm on edge just like you guys. There will be indictments. Don't worry. And it's hard to be patient. But when I saw that Pam Bondi had a press conference today, I got really excited, didn't you? And then it was the fentanyl, which, you know, we want the fentanyl off the streets and want those traffickers arrested too, but we need people like Leticia James arrested, because when Trump finally leaves the presidency, if these lawfare people don't face justice, he's going to face a lot of harassment for the rest of his life, like he did the past 4 years. Now, Kristi Noem is brilliant. She was in a congressional hearing, and this is Democrat Congresswoman Escobar, who was totally schooled by Kristi Noem. Listen to this.
Okay, perfect. I also wanted to ask you about this NBC News story, and I'll enter into the record this article as well. U.S. citizen family traumatized after ICE raided their Oklahoma home in search of someone else. And according to the local affiliate KFOR, which was reporting on this story, immigration agents raided the home last week. They had a search warrant for the home, but the suspects listed on the warrant were no longer living in the home. The family was forced to wait outside in the rain during the search. Mother and her girls, all U.S. citizens, their money was taken, their laptop, their cell phone. I asked you at the top of our first round if you believed it was important for DHS and if you would attest to the fact that DHS needs to rectify any mistakes. if this were a mistake, will you ensure that this family, this U.S. citizen family, gets its property back in a timely manner?
Okay, now, Christy, I mean, these liberals, I mean, they're insane, right? So listen to this. This is Kristi Noem coming back at this lunatic Democrat.
Well, in that particular situation, the warrant for that situation was on the house and the facility, not on the individuals that were there. And so that house was being used for human smuggling.
Oh.
And so those.
By the way, human smuggling is slave trading. All right. It can be labor slavery, sex slavery. You know, human trafficking is a slave trade. And these Democrats are out there advocating, covering, and helping slave traders and the new slave passage, which is so contrary to everything they want us to think they're against, because they talk about, you know, all of these, the slavery of the past, 1619 Project, and those things are awful and happen. But there's a slave trade going on today where people are held in slavery through this human trafficking with the illegal migrants, and the Democrats are perfectly comfortable advocating for it, helping it along, and covering up the slavers and their crimes.
Well, in that particular situation, the warrant for that situation was on the house and the facility, not on the individuals that were there. And so that house was being used for human smuggling. And so those operations were conducted against the facility. And even in that situation, there was some individuals there with the same last names and some of the similarities.
But if it were a mistake, Madam Secretary,
we believe everything was done appropriately, and we'll continue to make sure that it is done and handled appropriately.
All right. Well,
okay. So she's out there trying to defend slave traders. I mean, this is nuts. But she had her hands full. This is I can't remember her name. That old lady Democrat in the House that has the purple hair. That lunatic. I'd forgotten her name. Rosa DeLaura, something. Yeah, is that her name? Listen to this. Okay, now, of course, FEMA is being dissolved by the president because they're corrupt and, like USAID. Listen to this.
Where is the evidence of the failure of FEMA?
Congresswoman, we still have claims open from Hurricane Katrina.
Wow.
We have fire claims that are still unpaid to people who said they were due them 7 to 8 to 10 years old. They have never been paid by FEMA. So one of the worst things that the federal government can do is to stand up in front of the American public and say, we will be there. We will walk alongside you in the most horrible time of your life, and then never follow through on it.
Yeah. FEMA's a joke. And, FEMA is one of those organizations that people depend upon. And what do we find out? We find out they're completely useless. You can't depend on them. They're not there for people. And it's like USAID. It's a big slush fund, and they got to go. That's it. It's another agency of corruption. I wonder what percentage of the government is corrupt. Well, if you could put a percentage on it, it seems like about 80 or 90% of it's corrupt, huh? Now, I talk a lot about how England is gone, right? It's completely fallen. The Islamification of England, it's gone. It's a tiny country, and I don't think there's much that can be done to save England. And they're trying to do that here, like with that student I was playing earlier at the university who wants to bring down the United States. This is from a television news report in the UK. Pretty scary.
Welcome back to GBN Tonight with me, Martin Daubney. Now, the Labour-ran Rushmore Borough Council has sparked outrage by proposing a sweeping injunction that could see Christian street preachers imprisoned for up to 2 years and if the injunction is breached. Now, over claims of causing offence or distress. Now, under the proposed terms, Christians will be banned from praying for individuals, handing out religious leaflets or Bibles by hand, and laying hands on people in prayer, even with their permission.
Wow. I mean, now we've seen some of that kind of oppression here with the Biden regime, in the last 4 years. Remember the grandmother put in jail and put in federal prison for praying in front of an abortion clinic. Right now as we speak in Seattle, Antifa and Palestinian Hamas supporters trying to take over the University of Washington. They've been trying to take over buildings, rooms, offices. They've been lighting fires. What they're doing is incredibly dangerous. We've seen how successful they've been in taking down the UK, and we've got to stop it here. Now, we're a much bigger country, but look at how much influence they have during, in certain areas of the country already, like what's going on in Washington, what we see at Columbia and in New York. It's so important to clamp down on these groups before they do to American cities and states what they've done to the UK, which is conquer it. All right, now, Marjorie Taylor Greene was on the War Room with Bannon yesterday, and she's got a lot of concerns about people who have President Trump's ear. And, her boyfriend, Brian Glenn, who used to be with Right Side, he's part of the White House press corps now with the new outlet. I always forget who Brian Glenn's with now. I always think of him as with Right Side. And he asked some of the best questions in these White House press briefings. He's right there on the inside every day. And so I'm sure he's telling Marjorie Taylor Greene what he is seeing because he is physically there. Plus, she has access too. But let me play. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene on with Bannon on the War Room yesterday.
There is no wedge between the base and President Trump. The wedge is between Congress and the establishment Republicans that are undermining the president's agenda. And also anyone that gets in the president's ear and is lying to him about what he should be doing. Here's the real issue. This country rose up in a historic way, something that we haven't seen in our lifetime, Steve.
That's right.
And delivered a mandate. And that mandate was to the Republican Party. The mandate was President Trump's agenda. The American people said, no, we're done with the old Republican Party ways. There is no.
So what Marjorie Taylor Greene's talking about here, there are Republican establishment people in Washington. She believes they have access to Trump and are advising him. She didn't name any names there. I hope she does in the future because I want to know who exactly she's talking. I have some ideas, but the Republican establishment hasn't gone away. They're telling themselves that President Trump has this last term. That's it. And when he's gone, we're going to be back. And they're setting themselves up to take control of the Republican Party when Trump's term is up. And it is so important for us not to let that happen. And if there are Republican establishment warmongers that are whispering in Trump's ear, we want Marjorie Taylor Greene to expose them. She's very loyal to President Trump. She has President Trump's back. And there's no reason to ever question Marjorie Taylor Greene because she's one of the best. I mean, there's no getting around it, and we know that she's MAGA. Now, I want to talk about MyPillow. And, a great way to support the program is to go to mypillow.com and use our promo code Kane at checkout. And remember, you can use our promo code Kane, Kane, on all the specials at mypillow.com. But this week, I've been talking a lot about the new Mike Lindell MyPillow energy drink. It's called Rev 7. It's 30% off with my promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And this, let me tell you, this is the most incredible energy drink I've ever had. And I've tried them all. It's caffeine free and sugar free. And I tasted them and just sampled them when I first got them because I wanted to be able to see how well they taste. Because I didn't want to recommend something that tasted awful because, energy drinks can't. They taste fantastic. There's three flavors, blueberry, lemonade, and my favorite's the green apple, but they're all fantastic. But this past weekend on Saturday's the day I do work around the house if I have to. And I had a lot to do, but I still get up early on the weekends, really early before the sun comes up. And it was like 2, 3 in the afternoon. I was tired because I've been up like 12 hours, but I had a lot more to do. And I had my green apple Rev 7 Mike Lindell MyPillow energy drink. It was absolutely amazing. Just after I drank it, a little time went by, and all of a sudden I realized I'm doing all this stuff. I didn't even realize I had the energy, but I had it. Because there's no sugar or caffeine, you don't get the jitters, there's no crashing, and it just gave me energy naturally. It was absolutely fantastic. Mike Lindell's calling it the next generation of energy drinks, and I can see why from my experience. So check it out, 30% off with my promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. But remember, you can use my promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout at mypillow.com for all the specials at mypillow.com. And there's a lot of great ones going on right now, not just the ones I'm talking about. So go there, use my promo code Kane, Kane, and take advantage of all these deals. But try out that energy drink. You will love it. All right, my name's Brian. We're going to take a quick break and be right back. Don't go anywhere.
What if healing wasn't just possible, but purposeful? At NobleHealthAndBeauty.com, they believe in the power of faith, food, and holistic living to transform your life. The founder of NobleHealthAndBeauty.com, Gina, kept her cancer isolated for nearly 4 years without chemo by embracing clean living, supplements, and unwavering faith in God. Her mission is to help you do the same. At NobleHealthAndBeauty.com, you'll explore fresh, nourishing recipes, find lifestyle tips, as well as a full range of wellness tools. Everything is grounded in scripture and spiritual strength. Romans 8:31 says, if God is for you, who can be against you? And at NobleHealthAndBeauty.com, you'll feel exactly that. Supported, uplifted, and empowered. Make sure to shop the go-to supplements through the Full Script online supplements dispensary at us.fullscript.com/welcome/NobleHealthAndBeauty. That's us.fullscript.com/welcome/NobleHealthAndBeauty. And all NobleHealthAndBeauty.com customers will receive 10% off. Just create an account and happy healing. Whether you're facing illness or seeking radiant health, you're not alone. Embrace wellness, discover purpose, and visit NobleHealthAndBeauty.com right now. Teachers, are you looking for fun, no-prep resources to wrap up the school year? Ginger's Classroom on TeachersPayTeachers.com has you covered. From engaging mazes to holiday coloring pages, coping skills activities, and exciting educational bundles. The digital downloads at Ginger's Classroom make learning fun while saving you time. Everything is accessible, affordable, and ready to use right away because great teaching tools should be easy to find. Go right now to TeachersPayTeachers.com and search Ginger's Classroom. That's TeachersPayTeachers.com and search Ginger's Classroom and find great end-of-the-year activities at a price that fits a teacher's budget. How would you like to live a healthier, more energetic life and enjoy yourself along the journey? You can learn how to do just that in the new book from author Stanley Cook, The Ultimate Keto Kitchen, available on Amazon. The Ultimate Keto Kitchen is your go-to guide for living a healthier, more energized life the delicious way. With this must-read and life-changing book, you'll find 70 easy-to-follow recipes that take the guesswork out of keto. From savory breakfast and satisfying dinners to rich, indulgent desserts, you'll stay in ketosis without sacrificing taste. Each recipe in the Ultimate Keto Kitchen includes full nutritional breakdowns, time-saving tips, as well as customizable meal plans to fit your lifestyle. Whether you're new to keto or looking to break out of a rut, the Ultimate Keto Kitchen makes it simple. Plus, you'll get expert advice on avoiding common pitfalls and maximizing your results. Feel better and have lasting energy. Order your copy of The Ultimate Keto Kitchen from author Stanley Cook on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and Kindle Unlimited. Start your keto journey right now. Are you tired of pouring hours in a social media post only to get nothing? Struggling against those invisible algorithms that are burying your content? You're not alone, but there is help available with AI Prompt Power, the new book available at itproductionsllc.com. AI Prompt Power shares high-converting social media prompts for explosive marketing success. With AI Prompt Power, you'll learn to crush algorithms, create viral content in just 5 minutes, and skyrocket your engagement and your sales. You don't need writing skills or even tech expertise. With psychology-backed prompts and platform-specific hacks for Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and more, you'll future-proof your strategy to dominate the social media landscape. AI Prompt Power is perfect for social media managers, entrepreneurs, content creators, and those of you in marketing who are ready to leave the guessing game behind and win big. Don't waste another post. Unlock the secret to viral success right now and order your copy of AI Prompt Power online at itproductionsllc.com. That's itproductionsllc.com.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Well, it looks like we're getting some movement against the lawfare people in regards to the break-in at Mar-a-Lago. And there's been some developments, and this is very positive. You know, the break-in of Mar-a-Lago, don't let anyone tell you it had anything to do with classified materials. That's not what it was. That was a cover story for an operation. Remember, they brought with them a safecracker to break into President Trump's safe, which they did. And they had gotten in their head, okay, and that what they got in their head was completely insane. They believed, I guess, their MSNBC lunatic so-called journalists in the fake news, they got in their head that President Trump had a binder. It was inside his safe, and in that binder were the documents of Obama signing off on the spy operation at Trump Tower during the first campaign and things after that. And that's what they went in there for. Don't let them ever tell you they went in there for classified documents. That's nonsense. And this just broke today. Senators Grassley and Johnson are targeting the key players in the Mar-a-Lago break-in, and that's Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson. They've expanded their investigation into the dirtiest key players of the Mar-a-Lago. They call it a raid. Biden's FBI raided Mar-a-Lago in 2022. Can you believe it's been 3 years? And seized boxes of records from Trump's Florida estate. That was a scary day, waking up to that, wasn't it? Holy smokes. And how dangerous it was. More than 36 machine gun toting FBI agents descended on Mar-a-Lago in August 2022. And by November, Biden's Department of Justice appointed a special counsel to investigate the documents that were stored at Mar-a-Lago. All right. That's what they were looking for, and they found nothing. But think about how dangerous that is. The president was not there, but it's still under Secret Service protection. And there were Secret Service agents there. Now, they did call ahead and say they were coming, but to go in with FBI agents with machine guns to the home of a president is such overkill. It's insane, and it's incredibly dangerous. The raid came after the National Archives visited Mar-a-Lago earlier in the year and demanded documents from Trump, and he was completely cooperating for them. Court documents revealed Biden's FBI authorized the use of deadly force during the Mar-a-Lago raid. And it was authorized by Merrick Garland, the corrupt attorney general. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? They authorized deadly force, breaking into the home of a president of the United States. Corrupt FBI agents released staged photos of the classified documents laid out on the floor of Mar-a-Lago. Remember that? They were emptying out Trump's boxes onto the floor. Grassley and Johnson demanded that the National Archives turn over all communications with the Biden White House, the FBI, the Department of Justice, and others. This is a big deal. And I know a lot of people say, well, you know, nothing's going to come out of this. That's not true. President Trump has these 4 years to get things back in order and get things set straight so that he and his family are not harassed for the rest of their lives. All right. And that's why this is so important, among other reasons, but it's very important. He can't go through the rest of his life and have his kids and his wife deal with the harassment from these Washington insiders. There will be people brought to justice. You know, my guess has been all along that Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, of course, is the attorney general, and Dan Bongino, there may not be that many agents in the FBI and people in the Department of Justice that they can trust. They may have a small number of people that they can fully trust with these things, which will slow down what they can do, because I really do believe they have a limited number of agents. Most of the people that work in these departments, not the leaders, because, you know, Trump brings those in. Those are, brought in by politicians, by presidents. But the people that are the lifetime career bureaucrats in these agencies, they've been around with prior presidents and they plan on being here with future presidents. And it's not so easy to get those people to do the right thing on this. So I'm guessing they have a small, one day we're going to get the indictments will come. And when Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are out of public office, we'll start to find out what's been going on during this time. I mean, we may find out what's been going on during this time sooner rather than later. But believe me, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, right? I mean, Dan Bongino is radio silent. You think he's radio silent because he's sitting in an office in Washington doing nothing? I don't think so. The guy can barely sit still. Dan Bongino. You think he's just sitting in an office and doing nothing? Of course, he's doing a lot. The left with the Trump derangement syndrome, this is just crazy time. This is a Bloomberg reporter on MSNBC.
Worth at a certain point in his life.
That's all true.
So now watching how this second term has played out, what do you make of it? And what do you make of his motivation at this stage and how he's changed?
Well, I mean, I think his motivations have always stayed the same. You know, you can understand most of what he does through two lenses. It's either self-aggrandizement or self-preservation. Oh, yes. It's really rarely anything other than those two things. And I think when he's getting into a Sunday show where he's kicking around the idea of whether he'll run again.
Okay, now this is because he totally destroyed Kristen Welker on Meet the Press.
I agree with Max. I don't think we can believe anything he's saying. I think Donald Trump would like to live till he's 300, and I think he'd like to be president for 200 more years if he could. And I don't think we'll really know where he lands on this till we get towards the end of his term. He was happy putting out under the White House imprimatur photos of himself in the guise of the Pope. I don't think he's got any inclination to let it just go away, whether or not he's going to run for the presidency again. But as I was watching that clip, one of the things that really struck me is Donald Trump has aged. When people talk about the things that are going to get in the way of a third term for Donald Trump, obviously it's voters, obviously it's the 22nd Amendment, but he's turning 79 in June. He lives in fear of going down the path his father went down, which was dementia followed by Alzheimer's.
Okay. This just blows my mind. We had 4 years of a very, very corrupt president who obviously was suffering from Alzheimer's or some other age-related dementia issues, and they don't utter a word about it. And they're trying to get this narrative going that Trump is showing signs of dementia. I think this is what I think has happened with Trump. When the Never Trumpers shot him in Butler, and then they tried to do it again at the golf course, I think there was a change in him, and a very good change. He just doesn't care about the press anymore. And when you see him with the press, he doesn't get angry. He doesn't argue with them. He may make a joke here and there, and at their expense, and say something. But it's not like in the first term where he's remember in the first term, some of these press conferences that would go on 2.5 hours almost every day. He would get in very long debates with members of the press. And I think since everything that's happened, he no longer is doing that. He doesn't care what the press thinks. He knows he's never going to be able to win them over because they're so far gone with their Trump derangement syndrome. But he's not wasting his time arguing with them. So when he's dealing with them, he doesn't get angry, like he doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't humiliate him too much, although he does some humiliation of them here and there. And they're viewing that as some negative sign of dementia and everything. He just is done with the press. The media in this country are irrelevant now. The mainstream legacy media, the fake news media, they are irrelevant. And that's how he's viewing them, and that's how he's treating them. I want to tell you guys that if you'd like to support the show, a great way to do that is to become a Patreon supporter. And remember, if you become a Patreon supporter, you have access to commercial-free editions of all of the podcast episodes, okay? And those are exclusive to Patreon supporters. I post them on the Patreon page. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on every episode. So the names you'll hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, Rob and Trish Wilkerson, John, Frank, Dale, David, Laura, Rob, and SFjr. And again, if you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode. Just look in the description and you'll see it there. I meant to mention this earlier when I was talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I forgot, but I just remembered, and I'm glad I did. Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about running for Senate in Georgia. And I don't know what her popularity is in Georgia outside of her district. She's a credible popular person. I mean, in MAGA world. I mean, if you've ever been in an event where Marjorie Taylor Greene is at, it's people go nuts for her. Everybody loves Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's great. She's with us, and we love her for it. I don't know how popular she is outside of her district in Georgia, though, if she could win a state election or not. But I'd love to see her in the Senate because, once these people get in the Senate, for the most part, they're there for as long as they want to be. That could be the rest of their life. And, we need more MAGA senators, not just Republican senators. We need loyal MAGA senators. And she would just be so, wouldn't you like to see her in the United States Senate for the next 20 to 30 years? I think she would be perfect. She doesn't take any crap. I wouldn't mind seeing her Speaker of the House, but I hope this Senate run is realistic for her. I haven't seen any polls about it, and she's got a very safe House seat, so I don't think she'd leave that House seat unless she thought she had a good chance. But she may, she may run for both. You know what I mean? I don't know. Is the Georgia Senate election the same time? Is it's in 2 years? She can run for both offices at once. At least you can in a lot of states, and a lot of times people do that. So I don't know if she'd have to leave the House for that. I've seen a lot of people do that. They run for two offices and then they take the one that they want. Remember, Lieberman was the vice presidential nominee with Al Gore. He was running for vice president, but he also ran for his Senate seat. And it was smart that he did because he lost the election with Al Gore to George Bush. So, I'd love to see her in the Senate. That would be spectacular. And there's also another great story today, although it's for the New York Times, but we'll give the New York Times kudos for this. The New York Times photographer that got the famous picture of President Trump after he was shot has been given the Pulitzer Prize. That's well-deserved. And I know everybody listening remembers where they were when the president got shot in Butler, and that was a scary day. I just was a scary day. I remember when it happened, and I remember I called Steve Kane and I said they shot President Trump, and he's like, "Oh my God," because he didn't have the TV on. And that's another one that really needs to be investigated. I mean, it was the only rally. Elon said this. It was the only rally that CNN carried, and it's also the only rally I know of with President Trump where he came out on time on the dot. And I remember that because he, I always would put the rallies on. And do things around the house. And I'd keep it on in the background, and then when I would hear Lee Greenwood, I knew then, okay, Lee Greenwood's on, President Trump's coming out, because that's his song. And I was doing some work in the house, cleaning and things around the house, organizing. And then boom, right on the dot, President Trump came out, and he came out on time. It caught me off guard. And and I've watched almost every single Trump rally there is. And I know a lot of you have too. Have you ever seen him come out on time like that? Never. And yeah, I know. So why did he come out on time on the only rally that CNN carried? I know. I don't believe in coincidences at all. In particular, in that case, there's just nothing could convince me that was a coincidence. He's out there on time. He never's on time at these rallies, because it's not that he's not a timely person, but when he arrives at these things, there's a lot of people backstage. Some of them are VIPs, local officials, sometimes they're donors, and he's got to handshake and take pictures, and that's what makes him late. But somehow they got him out there on stage right on time on the dot. Wouldn't you like to know how that happened? And that may be the first time he came out on time on the dot like that. Maybe it's happened before, but it's a rare occurrence. But it happened that time. And the only rally that CNN carried live? Come on. There's a vast conspiracy there, and hopefully we'll get the answers to that. And I want to talk about Dr. Philip Appleton and his laser wave pain treatment. So amazing. I meet listeners at all our appearances on our cruises at Wings Plus, and it makes me feel so good when I hear from a listener who used to be in pain and they're no longer in pain because they listened to me and they went and saw Dr. Philip Appleton and took advantage of his laser wave pain treatment. And when I'm out and about and a listener comes up to me, I know when they're going to talk to me about Dr. Appleton because they'll have their hand on the part of the body that used to hurt. They walk up to me, they'll have their hand on their hip, their hand on their knee. Sometimes they're bent over with their hand on their knee. They'll have their hand on their elbow, their hand on their neck. It's kind of funny. And I know right when they're walking towards me because they have their hand on a part of the body, they're going to tell me, I used to hurt right here until Dr. Appleton treated me with the laser wave pain treatment. Now I'm pain free now. It's amazing. It makes me feel good that so many people have gotten their life back, a life without pain, like I've done 7 times because Dr. Appleton's rid me of pain 7 times, sometimes from aging, like my arthritis, sometimes for injuries, falling off my skateboard. It works. And the laser treatment, Dr. Appleton performs them all himself. There's no shots, no injections, no downtime, no drugs. It's 100% painless. You don't even feel it when it happens. And the best part is it works. Appointments are not necessary and walk-ins are welcome even on Saturdays. We have listeners who have flown in from all over the country to see Dr. Philip Appleton. He's that good, guys. Give him a call and say bye-bye to your pain. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. That's 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. That's AppletonCairo.com. My name is Brian Craig. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. This is where MAGA comes to talk.